As far as I'm concerned, Simone Eyles is an absolute legend. She's the creator and founder of Disinfluencer, who is essentially making disability mainstream. Now, she's also one of my coaching clients, and she's such a lovely person. And, I love working with her because everything we've talked about, she's implemented, and she's really brought this idea of disability inclusion in the arts, in media, on television, on screens, in print. She's really brought that to fruition through Disinfluencer by creating a representation service, a talent representation service and agency for people with special needs and disability. It's phenomenal. She's also in the process of creating a studio and a program which supports people within the performing arts and media by education. Now, this is a social enterprise, and that is something that we also talk about in this episode, how that actually works, what that looks like. We also talk about, some of the accolades that she's received, including a $100,000 grant from the AMP Foundation Tomorrow Maker program. So that includes funding and support to really bring to life this idea that people with disabilities should absolutely be included and seen in our media, in our content, online, on screens, on stage, and everywhere that we see entertainment and advertising. It makes sense. So, that is something that's really special about what she brings to the table. She's got so much knowledge. We also talk about how to apply inclusion for people with disability into the classroom and our everyday lives. The questions to ask a parent when they walk in the door, as Simone is the parent of a child with special needs. So there you go. We're very excited about this episode. I know I am, and I think you're going to get a lot from it. So, talent management aside, all that jazz, if you want to learn about inclusion or be inspired, how you can actually bring that into your own life and into your own business, Simone is absolutely inspirational. Let's welcome her to the show. Hello and welcome to Studio Biz and All That Jazz. I'm your performing arts business coach and host, Josephine Lancuba. This show is designed to bring you inspiration, information, and the instruments you need to create and grow the studio biz of your dreams. I will bring you a mix of solo episodes as well as interviews where I tap into the minds of industry experts. My career started as a performer over 2 decades ago. I later became a speaker, theatrical producer, and talent manager, as well as having a successful teaching career in singing, drama, and dance. 10 years into my professional journey, I became a mama of 2, and with a baby on my hip, opened up my very own performing arts studio. From hardship and humble beginnings to 4 studio locations and a multi-6-figure performing arts biz, I know how to attract students and keep them coming back for more. And in the show, I will share with you my experiences to help you thrive and fast-track your path to success. I know you have a spark inside of you with dreams and goals for the future. As your coach and mentor, I'm here to help you step into your limelight and be a cheerleader in your ear each and every week. So get ready to be entertained and inspired as we talk studio biz and all that jazz. Did you know that the doors to Talent Manager Bootcamp are now open? Go from studio owner to talent manager with ease inside of this easy to follow program. I'm going to be with you every step of the way. Increase your revenue, student retention, and your industry credibility by representing your artists on screen and on stage. It's totally possible. Head to josephinelancuba.com/TMB. Link is in the show notes. Thank you so much, Simone Eyles, the wonderful Simone, for being on the podcast today. I'm really excited to have you here. Now, Simone, you are the owner, creator of Disinfluencer. We're going to get into that. And I'd like to start a little bit from the beginning, really. So let's go back and tell everyone, who are you? What do you do? And then we can move forward to where you are today. But tell us about your background.
Okay. Which version should I tell you?
Which
So,
version?
um,
Only the true most
well,
entertaining version. No,
um,
no, the true version.
so I've had a business before, and I had major burnout and vowed to never ever start a business again. And I
Mhm.
was quite happy just doing my thing. And I had my son, he has a disability. He's also had a kidney transplant. And then I had my daughter in 2018, 10 years apart, which is a whole other story we'll save for another day. And just before, uh, well, the bushfires, I live on the far south coast of New South Wales. So we had the bushfires and COVID. So I found myself working as a financial counselor for small business, which was amazing. And then we did all the COVID work. And then one day I was driving down the road, and there was, I don't know if you will remember, of all people, the people listening, remember when Hannah Devine called out Lizzo and Beyonce for lyrics in their songs, and
Yeah.
there was huge outrage in the media. She used the word spaz, and both Beyonce and Lizzo, to their credit, did apologize. Lizzo as well, especially coming out saying, as a marginalized Black woman in the US, she gets it. So they removed those lyrics. And for me, I've done a lot of work because I have a disabled child on my headspace about being upset by stuff like that, because it used to drive me insane, make me really upset. And on that day in particular, I just thought, why, even though there's a place for it, why in the media is there always stories like this about disability, stories of advocacy, of abuse, of neglect? Like, yes, they have a place, but there's also a lot of magic that happens. And why don't we see that? And then I was thinking, I have a background, I'm a graphic designer by trade, and I've worked in advertising and marketing and done all that stuff. So I kind of started thinking, why is there no representation in the media? And I actually started a podcast because, remember, I vowed to never ever start a business, but deep down inside, in my heart and soul, had been whispering to me for a long time to do something to give back in the disability space. That was not a charity or advocacy, but something commercial and empowering and viable. So my little podcast got legs, and off I went. And that podcast turned into what you see now as Disinfluencer. It was a very long story. Sorry, Joe.
I love that story so much because what you said was so powerful and so true that the media talks about advocacy, right? And shares
Yeah.
these moments of negativity or advocacy or charity or whatever, but doesn't just celebrate the bright side of your experience or people with disabilities experience, because it's not all doom and gloom, is it? And that's what you're trying to get out there. There's more to it than that, and we don't get to see that. Now, disinfluencer, we've talked about it we've said the word a few times, and for everyone listening, Simone is one of my beautiful clients. She's gone through training and learnt how to implement talent management into the disability space, which we're going to get to. But for everyone listening, what is Disinfluencer? Who is Disinfluencer?
Disinfluencer. Disinfluencer is a platform, a website where people with disabilities can come to chase their dreams as talent, as models, as content creators. So we have our academy, so people can learn how to, pathways into that space for employment, which um, a lot of people think it's kind of funny because people with disabilities actually have dreams like everyone else, to be stars, to be on stage, to perform. I spend a lot of time every week speaking to other parents like myself, raving on about their kids and how they love the camera and they're super funny and they'd love to do this stuff. So we look after that, and we help people, you know, give them that opportunity to explore and educate them to get them what I'd call job ready. And then on the flip side, we work with businesses and brands who want to have diversity in their advertising and marketing. So we can create content, and we also educate the business and brands on how to work with people with disabilities. And I guess Disinfluence is we understand the business side, we understand people with disabilities, so we can converge all of that and create the impact that we're trying to create, which is the representation of people with disabilities in the media. And I say media broadly, I'm talking about film, television, on stage, influencers and talent.
Yeah, I love this because though there are agencies, and obviously, you know, I'm a talent agent and I teach people how to become, you know, talent managers and have those services. Through my work over a decade, I've seen people have people on the books of an agency that have disability for sure, but no one that specialises in it. And through the work we've done together, what I've loved the most is that there are so many nuances when it comes to disability that a typical agency really doesn't understand. For example, when you send someone to a job, you know, briefing a client so that the inclusion isn't just about inviting them for the role. It's about how we work together when we are on set and how we behave in the space and how we be together, you know. Talk to us about that, because that is something that you've been quite openly passionate about. It's more than just advocating them for the work. It's about true inclusion. Like, what does that actually look like?
So I guess through my journey just doing Disinfluencer, even I've had to learn a lot. And I guess the biggest surprise was brands and businesses are actually busting for this. They're desperate for it. Like, you know, Joe, you know the opportunity that's out there. And what I mean by that is when we work with people, they're truly after an authentic experience, not a tokenistic, I'm air quoting tokenistic. They want that education piece. They want to know what they do. And it's kind of funny because you don't actually have to do anything. And I say to people, we ask people what their dietary requirements are, and it's no big deal. We need to ask people what their support needs are, and the support needs are varied. And for example, you know, someone with a disability might not drive, so they're not going to drive themselves to a job. They'll have their carer, support worker, parent with them. Um, Obviously, our people have never really been on set before, so I go with them as well. And I've obviously done a lot of talking with the agent or the casting agent or whoever. So you have a lot of those conversations which kind of start out a bit awkward because people don't know what to do. But in fact, it's just being invited, you know, it's just being included like everyone else. And then just back to that kind of dietary requirements, just understanding what people need and being able to accommodate them. If someone comes to set with a support worker, like, it's no big deal, right? They don't have to do anything different. So it's just about, I thought I was kind of had this great idea and I was doing this grand thing. And I believe that, but I also was surprised because everyone I have gone to and pitched to have said yes. And then they have thanked me because they have been wanting this. And like you said, where do you go to get disabled talent in Australia? Like, there's nowhere to go. So
Nowhere
there's
to go.
9,000. Where do they go? So we're all advocating for representation. Businesses are itching to have that inclusion, but there's a gap. And I believe Disinfluencer provides the link, but not just a holistic link of support, education, both for the businesses and for the artists to get the best outcome for whatever the job is.
And interestingly enough, I mean, you know, of course, you're doing a particular service that provides talent to mainstream media, etc. But, you know, from a studio owner's point of view, and we've got studio owners listening, what you said was quite interesting because we sometimes will have students who come through our doors who want to attend class, and they will have, you know, potentially a disability or something that we as a studio owner or the teacher may not understand. And there is a fear of asking questions in case you offend them. What do you say to that? Because, you know, like you said about the support worker, that's really interesting. There was a little boy that joined one of my programs earlier in the year, and mum just came up and she said, look, my son needs a support worker in class, someone that can hold him up and blah, blah, blah. She says, I can't do it because of my back. She says, I'll do it for a couple of weeks. But then she says, so do you have the facilities to provide that, or do you want me to organise that for you? And she was just really upfront. This is what we need. He wants to be here. This is how this is going to look. He doesn't mean he can't be involved, just needs a little bit of support. He has a walker. He doesn't want to use it because when he's in a group with kids that don't have walkers, he doesn't want to use it. He refuses. And if I force him to use it, he won't want to be there. He'd rather be held up. It's just the way it is. So how can we work with that? And I thought that was really cool that she just came up and said it, because it's probably something that may have been a bit awkward to ask. So what do you do? Like when someone comes in the room and they've obviously got something that's, you know, a bit different, or there's a disability, or there's a reaction to something that we don't understand, what's the best way forward?
There's so many things I can say and talk about for this, but I'll try and give you 3 really simple things that you can implement. So I guess initially, just like you said, if studio owners, that mum, like a lot of mums, like they know what their kids' limitations are and they can deal with it. Like that mum was very proactive. Some mums wouldn't be that proactive. So I guess in the first instance, if you, through your marketing and social media, if you openly say that people with disabilities are welcome here, I think that's the first thing. A lot of people, it's not that they don't feel welcome, but I think to throw that out, I think a lot of people would be surprised. Following on from I use this kind of food analogy, especially the asking, you know, kind of comparing it to your dietary requirements. My friend Kelly's got this amazing quote I use all the time where inclusion is like cheese. You can never have too much, but some is always better than none. And I think the disabled, like I don't have a disability, I have a child with a disability and he's chronically ill. So I use the word disability as a very general label, but there's a lot of kind of, you know, it doesn't just come in a nice, neat bucket. But I guess by having that conversation with the parents, or openly inviting people to come speak to you, I think that removes the barrier, because the parents are the best to know, and it can just simply be a conversation. And I feel like you said, a lot of people, you know, I feel the stigma around disability is perpetuated because we don't see people with disabilities in the media. That's my mission. And I feel like if you see, like I think of my daughter with Josh, they're 10 years apart. She's 6, he's 16. I don't think she knows he has a disability because she doesn't know him any other way, and she just loves and accepts him how he is. And I feel like other people can do that. I don't have to sit down and have a conversation with her. She just knows him just like any other kid. So I feel like there's a few things you can do, like invite people to come and tell you, ask people what support they need. They'll tell you. And I guess too, for me as a mum, I always tell people, I took Josh once to a thing when I was living in Wagga. I drove into Brisbane to go to a thing because he doesn't get invited anywhere. So he was invited to this thing. It was ridiculous, but I took him. So parents will go like that, mum, above and beyond. They know, you know, if you need extra things, you need support. So ask them what they need and they will tell you, and just make it happen. And it's no big deal. And you'll never offend anyone by being inviting and inclusive. If anything, you'll make them feel seen and validated and valued just like everyone else in the community.
Yeah, totally. And it can be such a quick adjustment. Like one of the drama games we played in class was a relay where they had to come up to the whisperer, get a character from the whisperer and run back and act it out to the group, to the next person. It's a drama relay. And at the end of the game, The team whisperer runs back to the team, they sit down, and the game's done. I just made a really quick adjustment in the game. He can't run. That's not fair. We're not going to do that. So I said, hey guys, today I'm just going to make a quick adjustment. I'm not saying it's because of him. I'm just doing the quick adjustment, right? No one knows why I'm doing the adjustment. I'm just doing it. Quick adjustment today. We're not going to have the person run back. The game finishes when that, blah, 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 and that's it. Game won. Like, it didn't matter. Everyone's like, cool, that's the adaptation. We're doing it. Let's go. And I just wanted it to not, I wanted them to feel just part of it without making it weird or whatever. And it made no difference to what we were doing in the space. It actually changes nothing. So why not make those tiny adjustments as you see them? Would you think that that's a fair thing? Like, or do people feel uncomfortable because they can see, oh, they must have made that adjustment because of me? Or is that a nice thing to do? Like, when this is the awkwardness, you see? Yeah, like when is it right and when is it not?
I think if you can be led by the parents, like if you ask people what their support needs are, and they might be, you know, they need support standing up, they can't run, whatever that is, right? If you understand that support and you can make those adjustments, I feel like us grown-ups really should take a look at the kids, because when you see kids with disabilities with their peers, there's no, like, they're not sitting there going, that kid's different, that kid can't do this. You'll be surprised how kids are, because they haven't learned all this bullshit in our head from being a grown up yet. So they don't judge people and they don't care. So I feel like the kids aren't going to care. And if you just know what those people need, be led by the parents and make those adjustments, no one's going to, like you said, no one's going to care. No one's going to know. It won't matter. It won't do anything.
Yeah,
And
sometimes we
everyone
just
will
get caught so much in our own heads because we all want to be politically correct. Yeah, people are scared to
Yes.
offend. It's the cancel culture that we're in as well, you know. So it's all of that. But what you're saying, and this is so simple, is let people know that inclusion is welcome by saying, hey, people with disability are welcome here. Easy, right? No big deal.
Yeah.
That's a line. You can add it to the about section, you know, and ask the parents or the carer or whoever, hey, how can I support them? Is there anything you need from me? And that's it. And start the conversation, and they'll let you know, yes, this is what I need, or hey, we got it covered. They're fine. This is what their capabilities are. Okay, great. Is there anything else? You said you had a third tip. What was the third tip, or did it get lost in space?
Oh, I think just asking them, and yeah, I think it wasn't really a tip, but that holistic view of the action removes the stigma. You know, you can lead the way, and I feel like when people see other people doing it, and you know, when I work with people and people are so nervous, like you said, they don't want to say or do the wrong thing, and then we have the conversation, it's no big deal. And you know, I'm finding when we're on set, we were on set, we had models from Wink and Chadwick models and us. They were all treated the same. They were all paid the same. There was no big deal. They all did their job. So I feel like the power's in the action. And yeah, it is literally as simple as that. You will never offend anybody by asking them what they need, because the parents, speaking from my point of view as a parent, you're never asked, you're never included. And back to that cheese thing, it's better to ask someone and try than be scared of saying or doing the wrong thing and missing that opportunity and having people left out.
Totally. Now, Disinfluencer is a social enterprise. I find this, you know, this has been something we've been working through our coaching, and we've talked about the parameters of a social enterprise as well, because there's certain things that you don't want your artists to be paying for, and versus, you know, what they need or what they don't need, versus, you know, traditionally an artist will pay for their photo shoots, for example, whereas you have what you call your white glove service, which we'll get into. But what is a social enterprise for everyone listening? Because I know some people may have a little inkling but not truly understand what that looks like.
So a social enterprise is a business that exists like a business. It has to be sustainable. It has to create a profit, and a portion of that profit is redistributed back into the business to create impact. So a really great example is Who Gives a Crap? The toilet paper. They are a social enterprise, and 50% of their profit goes into making clean toilets in third world countries. Now, they don't just say that, they actually report it on their website. They report every year their income, their profit, and they report exactly how they've redistributed that profit. So they're not just saying it, they are doing it and reporting it. That's the key element of a social enterprise. For me, a social enterprise was quite interesting because I kind of heard about it, and it's kind of getting a bit of legway in Australia because, like I said, I'd had a business previously. I'd suffered major burnout, and a social enterprise like mine, for example, is we distribute our profits and we offer services back to that, onboarding our people with disabilities. We do their headshots, we do all these things for them, and they actually don't pay a cent for that. We cover the cost of that, and that's part of our impact. Because as a mum of a child with a disability, sometimes I feel like he's treated a bit of like a commodity, and I don't want anyone feeling that way. We are not an NDIS service provider. So when I speak to a lot of parents and I tell them about what we're doing and they ask me how much it is, I'm actually like, we actually pay them. We pay them to do their photos. And people can't believe it. This is about my change I'm trying to create in people with disabilities can contribute to an ecosystem, and they deserve to be paid. And people with disabilities have very limited pathways to work. And for example, my Josh, he's 16. He doesn't have his license. He doesn't have a part-time job. He doesn't go roaming about on the weekends. And even though, he wanted an Apple Pencil, for example, which is like $139. He doesn't particularly like working for me because I'm his mum, and that's annoying for him.
Typical teenager, yeah.
He's a typical teenager, right? But he wanted an Apple Pencil, and I'm like, well, if you want this, I'm not buying it for you. Like, you can come and do some stuff and you'll get paid. And so for me and for him, even though that's our own example, but that's what's happening with these families I'm working with. People with disabilities might not be able to work full time. They can't drive to work. They don't have a license. So there's all these barriers. So what we do is we not only upskill them, but we, a day, I'm speaking to my people, right? How fun is a photo shoot? Getting hair and makeup done, having catering, being pampered. So that experience in itself for our people has such a on-flow effect with their confidence, and there's so many amazing things that happen. So it's really important that we are a social enterprise, and in saying that, we do get some support because how do we cover all those costs? Like, yes, we put some profit back in, but initially, to get started, there's an extra layer of cost in there. And for example, when we go on set, I just don't send talent to set. Like, I go with them. So I'm not getting paid to be on set by the client, but that's part of what we do. So there's all these additional costs, but as a social enterprise, we can get support, or we can get funding to kind of cushion that cost. And that comes back to our impact report of, okay, we're doing 12 hours a week, unbillable work, but that helps us provide employment for people with disabilities. They get paid, and that's our impact. And that's kind of how a social enterprise works and reports on their impact.
Now, a social enterprise is different to a not-for-profit, would you say? We have some studios who look at potentially starting not-for-profit programming or not-for-profit production companies, etc. Would you know sort of what the difference is in relation to a not-for-profit versus a social enterprise?
So the main difference is a social enterprise is an everyday business, and the comparison I will give is, as a not-for-profit, you have to apply for your charity status, and you have to have governance and all these documents and reporting. I'm speaking very general here. Please don't
Yeah, of
look into
course.
it. And I guess what's so exciting about social entrepreneurship is it's really new in Australia. It's not new in Australia, but we've just been certified with Social Traders, which is the non-government organisation that's certifying social enterprises. So they operate as a typical business, and a not-for-profit. Sorry, this is the real answer. A not-for-profit operates not to create profit, but they usually get funding and grants to deliver their programs or services. A social enterprise offers a service or a program for a fee to make money, and then a portion of that profit goes back into go again to
Yeah.
continue on. So they're very different, as in the business structure and the legalities and all of that. But I didn't want to be a not-for-profit because I don't have the brain space to even think about how you'd have to start a not-for-profit. I knew it'd be a lot of work. So social enterprise was the way for me to go.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's David. I'm from Centre Stage based in Geelong, Victoria, and I completed the 8-week Talent Manager Bootcamp. Not only did I love it so much that one of my staff completed the bootcamp as well, and now we have a thriving talent management agency based here in Geelong representing both youth and adult artists. The Talent Manager Bootcamp opened up new doors for us. Prior to becoming an agent ourselves, we had to travel to Melbourne or even further to actually gain opportunities in the professional theatre world or even TV commercials. Now our local artists and our students and anyone that comes to our dance studios can actually now be represented by a local agent in Geelong, thanks to Josephine. If you're a studio owner and considering using Josephine to help you go to the next level, you will not regret it. Josephine's quality, attention to detail and the way she teaches you is remarkable. I was quite stuck in my ways as a studio owner, and Josephine was able to show and explain things in a different light, so I can take that and grow my studio. Thanks, Josephine.
I love that. Now, you actually were the recipient just recently, which was very exciting, for the AMP Foundation Tomorrow Maker program. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That was quite the application process, and I was very happy to be one of your referees. Would that be the word? Which was very, very cool. Tell us about how that sort of feeds into what you're doing now, this AMP Foundation Tomorrow Maker program.
So the AMP Foundation Tomorrow Maker program is a 12-month program. So we get $100,000 in funding, and we're part of a small cohort. So there's other social enterprises, and we get support in areas for our social enterprise, the business of our social enterprise. So for me, I'm a fairly new social enterprise. I've only been operating since April last year, so I feel like I've done a proof of concept, which is what I'm kind of launching in July, Disinfluencer, going from a service to our website offering. I still need to do a lot of work on how I'll report and measure my impact. So that's something I'll get strategic advice on. And with the funding, with my application, like I said, I've got people all over Australia that have signed up. So that funding, a part of that funding will allow me to hit the road and go do their photos and get them on our books, so to speak. And then later in the year, our academy, which kind of half exists, will be more formalized and structured. So no matter where you are, you can start the process to become a disinfluencer, and we'll have some education in there. And then at some point in time, you'll get your photos done. And then when you're job ready, you'll have your portfolio and we can put you forward for work.
Yeah, I love that so much. And you've come a long way you just said from last April or whatever, you've come such a long way in such a short period of time. I mean, when you came to me, and how did we get talking about this? I think you met me inside of a networking group, the Champagne Lounge. It's like an online networking social group for women in business, and we're in there. And when I said what I do, I remember you going, "Oh my goodness, Tell us about that, because I think you said something like, oh my God, I was like, I need someone to teach me about this thing. And it's like, and then I just apparently popped up. It's like you said, you manifested me.
I did manifest you. I like, because Beck, the founder of the Champagne Lounge, comes from video production land, and I'm asking her, because I started with this concept of pitching to brands, and I was a bit ballsy and a bit not rude, but the way I went about it when you start out and you do crazy stuff like you do. So I pitched to all the brands and they all said yes, and we did photos. Amazing. And then from that, they came back to me and they're like, look, we did this because we want to support you. However, we've got agencies, we've got contracts, like we just can't be doing random ad hoc photo shoots with me, which was fine. I didn't expect anyone to say yes. And then I started getting casting
You
agents
had to become
me.
an agency, essentially.
Yeah. So casting agents would come to me and they would say all these words that I'm like, I'm Googling what they mean. I don't understand. And I'm like, so I had a kind of feeling of the opportunity. And then from what I did with the photo shoots, the opportunity was, and this is why I've gone to the website, and I'll speak to that in a bit if you like. The opportunity was bigger than what I'm just one person. And like you said, I have done a lot and I'm trying not to overwork and burn out. But like I said, to me, it was like, why isn't there any representation? But the real barrier, the real gap was there's nowhere for the businesses and brands to get that. So we did the content, and then, like, I'm not a photographer, so I'm kind of creative directing these photo shoots, which is really cool and fun, but that's weeks of work in itself. And the demand is I don't have enough people and time to do the photo shoots, and I shouldn't be doing the photo shoots because the big brands have their contracts and their agencies, whatever. So we started doing some casting calls, and then, like I said, I'm getting all these emails and words and terms I don't understand. So I'm like, I need a talent coach. Is that's such a thing? And then poof, you arrived, and it was like, ta-da.
I arrived. I'm like, I help people create their own in-house talent management services. And you're like, oh my God, there you are. And and you're absolutely right, because so even though, and this is what, and I know, you're creating the Academy, which is an educational programming service for people with disability to support them getting paid opportunities and all that sort of thing, which, is not too dissimilar to really having a studio, essentially running programs and educational performing arts programs. So, we've got so many studio owners that are not dissimilar to you that go out and they get dribs and drabs of opportunities for their students. But when it comes to the actual professional running of an agency and understanding, like you said, even just the lingo, or knowing what that means, or when a contract offer is on the table and you're like, how can I sort of unpack this so that I know what we're signing off on? And that's the sort of thing that I go through in Talent Manager Bootcamp, which of course is, the program that I offer. And that's something we stepped through. Can you talk to that? Like, we actually talked through a bit of that lingo. What did that feel like once we sort of broke it down in simple terms?
Working with you was a game changer, and I say that to everyone, and I'm forever grateful, Joe, because I didn't know anything. Like, I knew a few things, but I want to be the best I can be for my people and for the people I work with. And you have some things that just take it to another level, and nothing over the top. So what I'm talking about is understanding that in every state there's different work rules. We talked about a code of conduct sheet as well, to work with kids and to work with people with disabilities, which I've developed into something really cool. You'll love it. Just all those little things, like I didn't know what's a lot of the terminology, like the rollover and just some of the stuff I just I have no idea what that means. And we did so much, and it really gave me the confidence to I do get a few casting calls. You've introduced me to casting networks, which is phenomenal as well, and just given me the confidence to put forward people and to respond to casting calls, knowing what I can give and knowing the expectation and being able to not necessarily push back. I haven't really had to push back, but I understand all the things they need. So when we put our people forward, it's a win-win. And just having the confidence to do that. Like I said, we were on set with, talent from 2 global agencies, and I didn't feel like I was inferior or little or anything. I felt like we were up there with the best of them because of all the work I've done in understanding how to manage talent, from all the negotiations before you get on set to then being on set. So yeah, it was an incredible experience and something I needed so much. So yeah, it's been, like I said, a game changer.
So tell us about the results. So, you've just had, after we did the training, you went on with a bit more confidence. You started really getting out there, presenting more artists or more talent, disabled talent to jobs and opportunities and casting directors and whatnot. And you've recently had some talent in the recent Vivid campaign, which is phenomenal. Tell us about those little nuggets of success since you've, come out of coaching and learning about talent management and now applying it to your people. What's it like? What's been happening?
Well, back to that confidence. When we did that, we did the Vivid Sydney shoot last week. So obviously that was in Sydney, where not in Sydney. So there was a lot of back and forth around wardrobe, which sounds really insignificant, but we were shooting over a couple of days, so the wardrobe had to be the same, and then pairing the wardrobe with the other talent, which again sounds so like no big deal, but because I've done my training with you, I know all the things that can like be asked and expected of us. So I wasn't thrown by that. So we put forward some wardrobe options. Casting director kind of chose 2 options, and then we put our talent in the photos to send back. So that back and forth, it's not just, oh, you get an email and you're off to a job. There's a lot of back and forth. As a talent manager, that's my job, right? To represent my artist and to also, work with the casting agents and the directors on what they actually want and need. So yeah, we did all of that, and then we had some conversations around what our talent needed on set, which was incredible. They were really proactive about that. And then yeah, just on set doing our thing, had all the call times, had other talent we were working with, and just could go to set and absolutely rock it. Not, like I said, I didn't feel like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. It was a massive opportunity for us, and it was, such an incredible experience. But I felt like we belonged there. We were there equally, and we did all the things that were asked of us because we kind of knew what they would ask of us.
Yeah, and it's so cool when you do get onto a professional set. It's very different, isn't it? Like it's different to, you run a photo shoot, that's great, and things like that, independent work, sure. When you get onto something quite at that level, like just even the size of the cameras, and all the team members involved, like getting a call from wardrobe, getting a call from the casting director, having someone looking after the catering and this, like it's actually very, very cool. And for your people to have those experiences, as they should, right? That's the point, isn't it? As they should, like everyone else. Like it shouldn't be, oh, that's so special that they get to do that. Like they deserve to be there. It should just be a no-brainer. And that's what I love the most about Disinfluencer. It's making disability mainstream, Now, yes, I love that smile. Yes. So we've done a lot of work to get to this point. I love that you've been doing your own work as well. You've really gone, because it's one thing, like as a coach, like I can give you all the tools, information, mentorship through the wazoo, but at the end of the day, it's all down to what you apply, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think coaching with you, what you did for me, like I've got a little Joe Black book, but we went through, like you said, your program, and you actually tasked me with actions. And our next coaching call, we went back to our actions, like, have you done this? Have you done that? And I'd be like, yes, no, it's on the list. So it wasn't just like a talk fest, it was accountability and actions. And it wasn't anything arduous, like my onboarding form, for example, I now have everyone's sizes, eye color, and I have a whole process to do that every year. And then for our little ones, we're going to do it more frequently because little people grow and change so much in 6 months. So just those little things that I didn't know were things, and not only talking about them, but giving me the tools and then making sure I did them, which I did. So yeah, it was an incredible.
You did. Now, what's the dis for in disinfluencer? Because people think it's for disability, but what do you say?
It's for disruption.
It's for disruption, my favorite type of thing, right? So some might say, Simone, you are a great success, but how would you define success? What does success actually look like to you?
Success to me is when we have 1 in 5 people with a disability. When I see 1 in 5 advertisements with representation, that's what success looks like to me.
Yeah, I love that. That's a big goal, and I love big goals, right? Who or what inspires you most?
In the US, we have someone called Keely Catwells. If anyone, I'm sure everyone listening has seen Brianna's Fendi shows. So Keely, she's coming to Australia this year. I'm so excited. I'm gonna like fangirl hard over her. She has a disability. She actually wanted to work as a talent manager, and no one would give her a job because she asked to work remote post-COVID due to her disability, like chronic illness, didn't want to get sick, all that stuff. No one would give her a job, so she created her own agency, and she provided the talent for Rihanna's shows and did all the talent for Nike, like global, had millions of followers. Her agency was acquired by a company called Whaler, and now she has I'd say a social enterprise. She's in the US, so whatever the US version of a social enterprise is, called Making Space. She's got partnerships with Netflix. She does programs with Netflix where they show people with disabilities how they make movie posters. Like, that's the kind of stuff I want to do. She's got partnerships with NBC. She's going to have a whole disabled crew go and film and present for the Paralympics. So she really inspires me with what she's done. People said no to her, so she just did it herself. And just like me, she wanted to work in the space, but had limited opportunities, so she made her own opportunities.
Oh, I love that. That is so inspiring. That is crazy inspiring. I'm going to be following her now online, so that's very cool. Thank you for that. Well, what's next for Simone? What's next?
What do you mean? Before I lose power. What's next? Okay, so in July is Disability Pride Month, and we will be relaunching Disinfluencer as our website. And what I mean by that is we've been providing a service, creating content, but as a website, businesses and brands can subscribe. They can get stock photos. We'll do some user-generated content, and our education programs will be in there for businesses. We'll also have our talent management offering as well. And when we launch in July, we're going to have a crowdfunding campaign to put a billboard up in Sydney.
Whoa, how cool is that? What does it cost to put a billboard up these days?
About $15,000.
Wow, okay, that's a cool one. That's awesome. Are you going to then head to Sydney and just like once that billboard's up, because it's so going to get up there, I know you. Once that billboard's up, I want to go there. We should bring like a red tape and just like cut it out the front and be like,
yes. Well, I
let's
think
do that. I'm going to go.
point-
We'll find on Amazon those big scissors, you know, the ones. We'll get a red tape and we're going to be
yes.
like, let's do it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's going to be
let's.
magical.
It's a big, crazy goal, but a few people have said to me, "Don't do it," but I'm doing it. I've said
I
it
get
out
why
loud
you're
now.
doing it. Everyone's like, oh, why would you pay that much money for a billboard these days when you can? It's not about that. It's about you want to see it up in city lights with people walking past. I get it.
Yeah.
I actually get it. It's more than just a good advertising decision. It's not about that. This is about making disability mainstream. Walking down Sydney, the hub, boom, in your face. I get it. Is that what this is about?
Yeah. You totally get it. Yeah.
I totally get it. I get it because I've worked with you closely. So someone who's like a good business person will say $15,000 could be used on social media marketing instead or whatever, but it's not about that. Plus you can, and I'm not turning this into a coaching call, y'all, but I'm just going to say, obviously, you can also leverage that into social media content once it's up there, like all the stuff that you can film and photograph once that billboard's up in that space, like in front of it, with your artists, with you. I'm coming down. If it's in Sydney, we're going to cut the red ribbon in front. Like, it's going to be mad.
You hit the nail on the head there, Joe. It's about all the content we can create from that. And definitely about.
And the press releases you could get from that, like if you approach media for articles, you know?
Yeah, we're doing all that, Joe. Everyone will know about this billboard. Don't you worry.
I know. I'm excited. All right, so for anyone that's on the fence about starting their own in-house talent management service, Talent Manager Bootcamp is my course. It is the only one in the world that teaches studio owners how to become talent managers and start their own talent agencies. And I dare say it's one of the only ones in the world that even teaches people how to do it from any walk of life. Simone knows because she Googled it. She tried to find someone and no one existed until she stumbled across me in a networking group. Is that true, Simone?
That is actually 100% true.
It's 100% true. I've Googled the heck out of it. No one does what I do. Do you know why? Because no one wants you to know how to do this. They think, and this is my mission, to break the glass ceiling on the entertainment industry and make it accessible to everyone who wants to be a part of it. Doesn't matter where you're from, what ability you have, what your background is, what people perceive as your skill or not. People don't know you. If you want to do this, you can. And so for anyone on the fence that's like, I've dreamt about, providing opportunities for my community professionally, but just haven't taken the leap, what would you say to starting coaching with my services and Talent Manager Bootcamp programming?
I would say that by being with you and not only learning the things you need to know, but then we started chasing opportunities as well. Just having someone to support you with that, and you still support me with that. So I'm super grateful as well, Joe, because it's not as hard and scary as you think when you've got someone like in your corner doing it with you, and that's what you can do for people. And there's so many opportunities out there. Like I said, people say to me, "Oh, are people going to copy you or whatever?" I'm like, there's not enough. There's so much work. There's so much work. There's so much opportunity. Being on set is so much fun. So yeah, I'd be like, I'd jump on it, get into it, do it now. Like, you will not regret it. It's such a great experience working with you as well, Joe. Like I said, it's not just a passive come and do this and whatever. Like, you really held me accountable, and like, look at all the things that have happened since we've worked together. And I wouldn't have been able to do that. I'd still be like too scared. I'm not good enough. Who am I to do this? But now I'm like, hell yes, we will put in for that casting call. We can do this. Like, let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only difference between someone who does it and someone who doesn't that wants to do it is they just started, right? They got started. And like you said, there's always that little feeling of imposter syndrome when you start something new. But like anything, you get experience, you know, get some points on the board, start getting some traction, you get, you know, more and more experience on the way as you go. And then you just, it's like anything, it's like any position, role, expertise over time, you develop it and you become great at it, but you just got to get started, and everyone starts somewhere, you know. So I'm so glad you got started. Now, what would be the best place if people want to find you online? Where can they find Simone?
So you can find us at disinfluencer.co. That's our website and also our Insta handle. Love a bit of Instagram. Slide into my DMs. Let's have a chat and see how I can help you. If any studio owners would like to know how they can, you know, any support with working with people with disabilities, I'm happy to chat to you. I think a quick chat can really, you know, remove those barriers and you'd be better for it. So there's so many awesome people out there that are superstars that don't get a chance. So you could be that person that could give someone a chance and really, you know, just make people feel good and feel happy. Isn't that the whole point of this industry? It's entertainment, right? So think about everyone that's out there and their potential and how you can support them, and you know, you will not have a bad day in your life by being a good person.
I love that. And we're going to pop those links in the show notes as well. So make sure you do check out Disinfluencer and that crowdfunding campaign. Keep an eye out on it, guys. That's good. We need to see more faces with, you know, diversity, disability, all of that. We need to see more of it in the media, and what better way than putting it front and center in, you know, a main city. That is very exciting. I love that. All right, well, thank you so much for being on the show, everyone. Also that's listening, Talent Manager Bootcamp is here. It's for a limited time. Head to josephinelancuba.com/TMB. Link is also in the show notes if you want to check out what Talent Manager Bootcamp is all about. Thank you, Simone, for being here on Studio Biz and all that jazz.
Thank you so much.
This episode was brought to you by my signature group coaching program, Studio Biz Success, an amazing and accessible online educational platform for performing arts studio owners designed to help you grow your business with confidence and get your results. Check it out at josephinelancuba.com, along with other great industry resources to help you leap into the studio biz you deserve. If you love this episode, be sure to share it with your friends. You can tag me on social media at Josephine Lancuba and give it a review. Your support helps the show to grow so I can continue to provide you with useful, informative content. I'm Josephine Lancuba, your biggest cheerleader. Thanks for listening and shine bright.